make a few opening remarks on behalf of our lead in Kenya, Dr. Johannes Atela, who might be able to join us in the course of discussion due to some commitment. And I think I only have 5 minutes, so I'll be a bit brief. The background of this monthly community of practice dialogue, I think, is quite clear to create conversation and a dialogue around clean cooking adoption, especially electric cooking uptake in Kenya. We all know that historically in Kenya, the electrification sector has been working independently. The clean cooking sector has been working also independently for a long time. And the focus or the attention has been to promote electrification, to have many homes and households access electricity according to the SDGs and other aspirations like the Kenya Vision 2030 and others. But the clean cooking sector has also been focusing on clean cookstoves over a longer period of time. And according to the 2019 Kenya National Housing and Population Census, we can say that around 75% of Kenyan households currently has got access to electricity. But the use of this electricity has been limited to lighting and other uses, but not cooking. Over 80% of households rely on biomass for cooking. And I think all these are in the public domain and public dialogues and discussions. But cooking, as we all know, is culturally or socially driven. So it varies a lot from country to country, and even within the country, it varies from one place to another. Like in Kenya, different parts of Kenya, the northern part of Kenya, eastern, western, central, and even within Nairobi, the cooking culture is culturally driven. So the diversity is there. And this affects the uptake of clean cooking technologies that we bring and talk about. So the electric cooking is an effort or initiatives from different partners and stakeholders to bring the electrification sector and the clean cooking sector and all other players to work together to promote electric cooking in Kenya. Not only to tap on the existing opportunity All right, I'm told I was not audible. Hope I'm audible now. Sorry for that. Yeah, so for the electrifications, all right. So for the electrification sector and the clean cooking sector, initiatives are ongoing. And currently, the ministry, the national government Ministry of Energy is uptaking this seriously and supporting the development of a national e-cooking strategy, just to give a roadmap on how this can be promoted and adopted. And the clean cooking uptake that we are now talking about, the e-cooking hubs, the MEX program in Kenya and its partners went ahead to explore the different regions in Kenya and opened up electric cooking hubs in 4 counties for a start, and that is Kitui, Kisumu, Nakuru, and Makueni counties. But we also know that there is an electric cooking hub in Nairobi, championed by our key partner in the electrification sector, the Kenya KPLC in Kenya. And for a long time, we've been working together to champion this agenda. And the main reason why the e-cooking hubs were established were to promote the technology, the transfer of technology from the central place in Nairobi, so that it can be transferred to different parts of Kenya, where we can develop the capacities and awareness and raise some champions in these particular regions. So I'm glad to mention that we have champions from different parts of Kenya, especially in these hubs, through our hosts in these counties, and the technology transfer and access is really increasing. The e-cooking hubs are also promoting the testing of the flexible financial models, because the upfront cost has been an issue in most parts of Kenya to access the different technologies that we are talking about in electric cooking. And the different financial models are being tested. It also varies from one place to another, one community or one social group to another. So this gives accessibility and financing models to be tested and applied. These e-cooking hubs are also strategic to help promote local policy development, because we have the local governments, which are called the county governments, and the national government. So the hubs allow different partners in the public space to come together and interact and dialogue around the policies of e-cooking as part of the clean cooking agenda in the counties and in the national government. But also in terms of research and impact explorations, we have these hubs playing a critical role, so that the research around clean cooking and electric cooking and the impacts that we have already creating can be tested and can be explored and documented, and these hubs are really playing that particular role. But I don't want to talk much about the hubs. It will be good to hear from the hubs themselves and learn and dialogue more around the e-cooking hubs and the role they play, and the visions that they have. So I wish all of us a grateful discussion moving forward. Let me stop there. Thank you very much. Back to you, Emily.
Thank you so much, Tom, for such a nice introduction. And we'll go directly to our presenters for them to present what they have for us this afternoon. Starting us off is Florence from Catalytic. Florence, if you can hear me, kindly, are you able to share your presentation, or do you want us to share from our side? How are you?
I'm good.
Share from our... Okay, sawa. Karibu. As we share, you can just start by introducing yourself and Catalytic as we put your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Emily. Thank you, Tom, and all. I'm Florence Betty. I work for Caritas Kitui as the Director of Programs. Caritas is the development department of the Catholic Church, and for us specifically for the Diocese of Kitui. And we promote a lot of renewable energy use, and in particular for cooking. So I'll go straight to the presentation. Looking at what has been shared in Kitui, we've been promoting clean cooking appliances, and I want to just give you a brief on where we come from. As church, we are guided by what we call Laudato Si, an encyclical letter from the Pope, which says that our environment is our common home, and the church has a responsibility to protect the environment and make sure that every live thing on the land enjoys the space. So based on that, of course, there are other guidelines that we were given, but based on that, as Caritas Kitui, we began our work by promoting energy renewable cook stoves that are fixed at household level, and also promoting use of boilers in schools, especially day schools where they use a lot of firewood. So in that, we continue to explore, and I should say that by now we've done over 22,000 energy saving cooktops at household level, and a number in schools, especially day schools. In addition to that, while we were doing that, we also had an engagement with the county, especially on the policy work. We worked together with the county together with IED and Catholic Relief Overseas Development supported the county to develop the energy master plan. Kitui has an renewable energy master plan. So during the process of developing that document, we realized that cooking as a key component, and we began promoting that, and that is how we come together with the ACTS, African Center for Technology, Clean Cooking Association, and actually African Center for Technology and Studies to explore the use of other appliances other than the fixed energy cookstoves at household level. And we did a study on efficiency of LPG gas, the 5 kg promotion of Jiko Koa, the charcoal, clay-lined charcoal Jiko, and also the electric pressure cooker. Then after that study, we were able to get facts on how we can explain more on why it is important to move from the 3-stone cook stoves to either rocket stove, which is a fixed Jiko at household that uses just like a single firewood or 2 at most, and why it is also important for those who can afford to move to LPG, and those who again who can afford to go to LPG, electric pressure cooker, and also the Jiko Koa. So we did that study, and from that we've been promoting especially the energy saving cookstoves across all our work. Based on that, towards the end of our research and the conclusion, we launched the eHub in Kitui in May 2022. And from that time, we've been promoting the cooking, the different appliances at different levels. Currently, we've been using holding demonstration forums as strategic areas to reach out to markets, especially where we have mostly peri-urban centers, and where for the pressure cooker, electric pressure cooker, we mostly promote where there's households connected to the national grid. That is why mostly we go to peri-urban centers, because they are connected, but that does not limit us raising awareness on the pressure cooker to others who are not connected, because at one time they'll be connected. Again, the other appliances, the LPG and the clay-lined stoves, we are promoting across as we work with the mostly women groups across the county and also in Makueni, and that is where we are showcasing these important appliances and also demystifying the fact that they are expensive. You can get burned when you're cooking with electricity. Electricity cannot cook. It is expensive. Those myths, we are trying to demystify them as we do that. We are also, in the process, we are also creating demand so that most groups can adopt a methodology on how to access the appliances, especially the electric pressure cooker, because the cost is a bit high. So we have 2 groups mainly, and one foundation, Green Africa Foundation, that have already mobilized resources, and they are waiting for us to supply the appliances. And we are ready to do that as soon as possible. Next slide, please. Hello, Emily? Okay, what we've been able to take as lesson learned, one is in-depth understanding of clean cooking solution preferences in different target areas, because we know what does well when you are using especially areas where LPG is most adopted. Where there is no electricity, most people would go for LPG. Of course, it comes with a bit of initial cost to buy the cylinder, and most people may not be able to afford. Then they go for the clay-lined And the clay lined, we have the Jikokoa, but we also have other locally made Jikos that are metallic cover, but also have clay lined. And we also promote that because we believe all of us are not equal in terms of resources and efforts to procure. At the same time, promoting the fixed rocket stove at households so that we reduce the use of biomass at household level. There's also high consciousness of the need to adopt clean cooking technologies among the people as a key strategy to address climate change. A number of, and reduce health effects. A number of times people don't connect the firewood that we use with the effect that we have in the environment because there's a lot of firewood around us. Again, the role of cooking in our culture, mostly it's women and children, and the concept of health and cooking, especially using the drillstone. Most people, and especially men, could not appreciate that it has health effects. But in our meetings, we have both men and women. And when we discuss them, men have begun to appreciate that it is important for them to have better appliances that are not bringing negative effects to the health of the women and the children. And again, we also understand that men are they own the resources. So if you want, for example, to procure an electric pressure cooker, which is going for about, let's say about 5,000, and you have to get it from your husband for the housewives, you have to justify. But once we have these discussions, they realize, one, there's efficiency in how things are done, the environment is clean, men have also started cooking, and they're appreciating that process. Next slide, please. Emily?
It's on.
Emily?
The recommendation
Okay,
slide.
Yes. So what we are saying going forward, we need to enhance partnerships, collaboration or consultation in strengthening energy sector coordination and communication to end users on clean cooking solutions. We've also realized when we are doing our work as Caritas, we need to bring in other actors, government, especially Ministry of Environment, be part of our champions as we speak these processes, and other actors on research like ACTS, among others. KPLC, we know they are doing those promotion events that we are also enjoying online, and they have been very useful on empowering us to continue speaking about use of electricity, because Kitui is one of the counties where electricity, rural electrification was nearly done to 70%. But what do people use the power for? Lighting only, and maybe charging phones. We are now encouraging partnerships so that we speak to each other to enhance people use electricity for other uses like cooking. And of course, that goes with provision of the right appliances for that. We've not done much in the promotion of appliances using solar, cooking appliances using solar. Then the other thing is capacity building, that consumer awareness for behavioral change. Because sometimes it is one thing to create awareness, and it is another thing to have behavioral change. Why do I say this? Sometimes when we go to some of the households, you'll find somebody has an LPG appliance, they have the Jikokoa, and the 3 Firestone is very active. Why? They'll argue that it is easy to light the 3 Firestone, firewood is very available, and many other justifications. And how do you use these other ones? Only when they are guests. So if you calculate in maybe a quarter, you receive guests once, and all the other days you are using the 3 stone, then that means we are not making the impact that we want to make. So there's need for more awareness and also behavioral change, so that communities or individuals can adopt the appropriate appliances that we are promoting. Then the other recommendation is adequate supply of modern cooking solutions, especially because when currently we've been promoting, but we refer people to the supermarkets, where at times in the supermarkets, the prices are vary depending on which company. But if we have a pool of, or maybe a reliable supplier who supplies those appliances consistently, then more people would opt to have them, other than referring them to the markets. Where are the supermarkets? We only have a supermarket in Kitui, and in Mwingi, they even don't stock those electric pressure cookers, for example. Then at these initial stages of promotion, we may have to think around subsidy so that we entice people. People love when they see it being done. I can confess that with our champions, where those groups that I've stated at the beginning, we presented them champions and we gave them some pressure cookers, and they've been able to raise money easily because they can see it cooking. Somebody can explain. I took like 25 minutes to do githeri, which is very common for us, while somebody has been in it for 3 hours. So seeing is believing. So with the subsidy, more people will buy the appliances, and not only the pressure cooker, but even the others that we are promoting. Last slide, please. Okay, this is just an example of a demonstration of use of the pressure cooker. We have our team there, and one of the champions who has been very passionate about it. She's always promoting all over where she goes. Even when she's not able to carry the pressure cooker, she'll ask for 2 minutes to speak about it. And we like the energy in her. Then below there, we have the rocket stove that is using less firewood. Then just imagine in Kitui County, 67 of the residents primarily use traditional 3-stone cook stove, which is quite inefficient and needs air pollution. The effects of these cook stoves, if used for a long time, has potential to diverse health impacts to users and other close family members. Women and children are the most affected. In the spirit of addressing the problem, our work with IED acts as supported and fastened over installation of 20,000 plus households to acquire energy saving stoves, 36 LPG systems with our champions, 44 G cocoa in various groups within Kitui Central and Mwingi, and 40 electric cookers. We have also gone ahead to plan to do 20 biogas at household level, 10 at household, 15 at household, 5 at institutional level. This is a program that is just very new because biogas has not been adopted in Kitui, and yet we have the energy center of for the region, for the eastern region. It's here in Kitui town, but we've not utilized that technology. So we intend to, in the next 2 years, we need to install 20 biogas at household and also for institutions. Many more households need our support. We look forward to partnering with you or any other actor to continue saving our lives. Thank you very much. I can stop there.
Thank you so much, Florence, for that wonderful presentation. Just to highlight some key takeaway notes, it means there is a lot of work that still needs to be done, considering that 67% of the population in Kitui still use traditional methods for cooking. And just to underscore what you've said, there needs to be a lot of active demonstrations done within the region to be able to convince the people who are still using biomass to transition to the use of clean cooking technologies, and also on the fact that people still have the mentality that cooking with electricity is expensive. So more capacity building activities need to be done to convince this group of people, that cooking with energy efficient electric cooking appliances is indeed cheap. Thank you for your presentation. If there are any questions on what Florence has presented, they will be addressed after all the presenters have presented. Next on line is Benson Kimoyo. Benson Kimoyo is the head of department, Hospitality, Water Institute of Technical Institute. I welcome Water to kindly come in and share your presentation. You can kindly introduce yourself as we share your presentation on the screen. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, members. I'm Benson Kimuyu from Water Technical Training Institute. And we are glad to say that we partnered with the HATS and other agencies, whereby we introduced a e-cooking hub that is last in June. And I want to give a background of what is this we're calling Water Technical Training Institute. Water Technical Training Institute is the Institute of Higher Learning under the Ministry of Education. And we have several departments that we are using. We have several departments that we are training different activities. And one of the departments that is purely directly involved in this, we are calling the e-cooking, is the Department of the Hospitality, whereby in the hospitality department, we have around 600, we have a population of 600, whereby the whole institution has a population of around 3,000. And in the department, in the past, we have heavily used the LPG gas for cooking. And it's sad to say that per week, we have been consuming a cumulative total of 135 kilos of gas, notwithstanding the electric bills. We have also been using not less than 100 kilos of charcoal for our training. But thanks to the intervention, and also thanks for the introduction of the e-cooking hub, I think Emily and I can be able to start the slides so that I can be able to go through. The first picture that you are seeing on the introductory part was the e-cooking launch that was done on 16th of June. And I'm happy to say that truly, we are being able to see e-cooking be the game changer in our training. The second slide, please. Okay, so I've given the background. So we are saying during the launch, 10 champions were trained, and these champions we had a selection whereby we took 5 students and 5 trainers so that we can be able to ensure that we have a balance in the training. And in the champions, we had 4 from hospitality and 1 from electrical who can be able now to give us more technical advice on the in case of any challenges with the devices. And the hub targets, as I said, a population of 600 people from the hospitality department. And we are using, the hub is actively used for the training. The next slide, please. Okay, that was photos of the launch. The next slide, please. Okay, so it said that the college has a population of 3,000 trainees and students. And the best approach that we have employed to mainstream the use of the EPs for the day-to-day is the day-to-day practical activities, whereby the students normally have their practicals from Monday to Friday, and whereby we have mainstreamed the use of the EPCs on other mediums of cooking, whereby you've been using the gas and electricity. And you're saying that the trained champions, that is the student, have come very handy to assist the trainers in ensuring that they mainstream the knowledge to the rest of the students. And why am I saying this? Because I believe that students believe in seeing others doing. So when they see a fellow student demonstrating, then the uptake and the use of the EPCs has become very easy and also very usable and acceptable among the students and also the trainers. The next slide, please. So what are the success stories of this? The use of the EPCs have not only reduced the cost of electricity, but it is also clean, reliable, and a faster method of cooking. What do I mean by this? In my introduction, I was saying that we were using 135 kilos of gas every week. By the introduction of the use of the EPCs, I can be able to say that we have reduced the uptake of 135 to around 60, because now we are using 1 gas cylinder and almost a half, and we used to use 3 of 45 kgs. So according to me, I'll be able to say that is more reliable, cost effective. The use of the charcoal for this term has already been abandoned. Why? Because now we have realized that all what we are using charcoal for can be done by the use of the EPCs more effectively, more quicker, and also more reliable. And again, the champions on the part of the success stories, the champions have already done door-to-door demonstration to customers with EPCs. And this has increased awareness on electricity cooking and an increase in the uptake of e-cooking. Why am I saying this? During the launch, there were customers, there were people who were from the community who were interested in the use of the EPCs, and they were able to procure through DAN, which we are very much supportive and appreciative of the same. And these champions have been able to demonstrate through door-to-door activities, and can be able to say that for sure they'll be able to disseminate the knowledge to the people who have already bought the EPCs, and you can be able to say that the increase in awareness, there's an increase in awareness. The next slide, please. So those are some of the people who were interested with during the launch, and they were able to purchase the EPCs, and now you can be able to say that they are part of our champions. And apart from being our champions, they're also the ones now who are leveraging the same knowledge to their neighborhoods. And we are sure that we shall be able to have more people within the county who can be able to have an uptake of the e-cooking. The next slide, please. E-cooking hub sustainability. Embracing of e-cooking in institution is the way to go, is the game changer. And why am I saying this? In several ways, we are saying that embrace in e-cooking can be able to increase student population in hospitality-related courses. You shall be able to reduce the cost related to electricity consumption in training, as well as infrastructural expenses of building more training labs. What do I mean by this? Currently, our maximum number of students in the hospitality department that we could admit at any given time was a maximum of 600 students, which is the optimum. But with the introduction of the e-cooking, the normal practical as per the syllabus of the curriculum is 6 hours practical lesson. But with the use of the EPCs, we are able to see that it is more quicker, meaning what? The hours have been reduced from 6 hours to 3 hours. What is the essence of that? Now with the 6 hours whereby we had one class doing a practical, we can have 2 classes doing practical using the same hours that one class was using. Meaning what? We can have more, or we can be able to double the intake for the department. Also, we are saying that it has been able to reduce the consumption in terms of electricity. Again, we also think that you can be able to reduce the infrastructural expenses, meaning what? With the increase in population, it means that we have to build more infrastructure, more labs for training. But with investing more on the energy efficient equipment, EPCs and others, then there's no need of building extra labs, only to increase the population, and then we are good to go. Again, we are saying that the increased population in student will create a broader conceptualization of e-cooking, hence creation of e-cooking ambassador cells. What do I mean by this? All the students in the hospitality department are far and wide from the Makueni County, the neighboring counties, and other counties which are not even closer. So by the use of the EPCs in the training, we are creating ambassador cells whereby once these students get out of the institution, they can be able to take the same knowledge back home. Hence, they can be able to be good ambassadors in the promotion of e-cooking. Hence, we shall ensure that, or we shall be able to ensure that the conventional and the traditional method of cooking, whereby firewood and charcoal was heavily used, bearing in mind that the last miles of reduced have covered almost 75% of the county, then the uptake will be more. Next slide, please. So for this dream to become a reality, which dream have I talked about? The increasing of the population, creating more ambassador cells and all that. Funding from partnership, collaborations, and funding is very key. And who are these partnerships we are talking about? All the sectors of energy have come in place to ensure that e-cooking is promoted in Kenya. But there's a partner who is totally left out, the Minister of Education, especially state departments of vocational and technical training. If this idea can be sold unto them, because they are the people who are training, because we have more than 200 technical training institutes in the Republic who are training hospitality courses, then this can be able to spread very fast, and also the acceptability could be more because more people will be aware or not to use the energy efficiency equipment, and also can be able to disseminate the same knowledge. Funding is the major component for coming up with e-cooking centers that uses EPCs and other electric efficient appliances. What do I mean by this? Apart from any institutions now coming up or equipping their workshops with LPGs, the electric cookers and all that, which are using more energy, if they can be able to come up with a training center or hub that have energy efficient equipment, then this could be a true testimony of how e-cooking, not only being cheap, clean and faster, more people can be able to embrace it. Why am I saying this? Because in Kenya, we believe in what we see. Then we are saying that more awareness will be promoted through training, using the centers, as well as creating more linkages with the community. The next slide, please. So what are the cross-learning opportunities? The best approach to diversify e-cooking concept, the following can be adopted. I've given them in 4 points. The first one is through organized group training, barazas, door-to-door engagement. What do I mean by this? I believe in each and every place, in every community, we normally have groups meeting, normally have barazas, we normally have chief barazas and so on. So as an institution, for us to be able to ensure that we create more awareness in this one, I believe the best way is the institution now to, as the institution being the hub, they can just request for either a minute or two to start talking about the clean cooking in barazas. Another one is inviting and training other institutions of higher learning within the county, whereby we are saying that you can be able to invite other institutions because the county has several institutions of higher learning. So that we can be able to ensure that we transfer or disseminate or mainstream the knowledge to other institutions, that be able to conceptualize the use of the e-cooking, can be able to organize what we call either benchmark, or we can be able to talk about what we call training days, that we can be able to ensure that we train other institutions. Another one is to participate during national days, whereby you can be able to demonstrate, can be able to train on the use of the EPCs, and as you can be able to create more awareness on the e-cooking. Then the next slide, please. Then the hub to act as a benchmark center for e-cooking within and without the county. Meaning what? Because now we are already a center, we shall transfer knowledge through inviting other institutions and all that. Then we become a center whereby in case of any information required, in case of any training required, we are a center that can be used as a benchmark, either by communities, either by religious groups, that's the churches, either by groups, organized groups, and equipment groups and all that. Then we can be able to ensure that we transfer the knowledge as required. So those are the ways on how you can be able to ensure that e-cooking can become a reality in Kenya. And rather than saying that the Vision 20, that you can be able to ensure that if we all embrace it and you can be able to disseminate the information as required, quicker as it can be, then we shall be able to ensure that Kenya becomes a clean cooking country, a e-cooking area, whereby electricity shall be adopted by each and every household, institutions, and other levels and other players to ensure that we succeed. So thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Benson, for that presentation. It's been really nice listening to you talk with passionate about the e-cooking technology. Some key takeaway notes from your presentation. I can't ignore the fact that with e-cooking, you've had so many transformations on the way that you cook. Like previously, you used to use 135 kg of LPG in a week,
Yes.
and 100 kg of charcoal in a week. My main interest will focus on the fact that you have totally abandoned the use of charcoal, which is a plus to the clean cooking community, considering the harmful effects that are associated with the use of biomass. So that is a really key point in your presentation, and the fact that e-cooking is a game changer in the way you do things at Wote. And another fact is the fact that you have mainstreamed the EPC into the curriculum. This is also a plus, which other institutions within Wote and beyond can consider embracing to take this clean cooking agenda far and wide. Lastly, I won't forget to mention the fact that partnership is key in all this, because without partnering, it won't be easy to realize the objective that you have, in as much as in short, you are limited without enough partnership to provide funding to help you implement these plans that we have for the e-cooking agenda. And also to mention the fact that training is key, since it will enable the stimulation of this technology, not just within Makueni, but also to other counties, just as Florence mentioned. Thank you for that presentation. Next in line, we have George, who is the coordinator of the renewable section in Ramogi Institute of Technology Studies. So I kindly welcome George to come in and continue with the presentation. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, George.
Yes, thank you very much, Emily. Let me try and share the slide before I begin.
Okay, thank you for that.
I hope my slide is visible.
Yes, it is. You can put it in the slideshow mode, kindly. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity to share. My name is George Ayoma from Ramogi Institute of Advanced Technology. I'm one of the members of eHub, and I want to share with you our experiences and also learn from you about awareness creation and e-cooking demand stimulation. So RIAT is one of the technical institutions situated in Kisumu County, and at Ramogi Institute of Advanced Technology, we are all about technology and how to use technologies to solve humanity problems. And one of the challenges we are being faced with as humanity is the climate crisis. So we really welcomed this idea of e-cooking because it is a godsend solution to help us deal with the climate crisis and other problems that arises from cooking with conventional fuels. So RIAT E-Cooking Hub is one of the centers of excellence where the clean cooking agenda is championed within Kenya. We carry out awareness creation programs to sensitize the community on the need for and benefit of e-cooking, which I believe all the members in this forum are well aware of. So our main objective has been to create awareness and to stimulate demand in the RIAT region and even beyond. Even though at times, because RIAT is a technical institution and all about technology, we also do a bit of research on other e-cooking products that we can develop to add to what we already have in the market. We believe that if we have locally made products, it will even be better. So this currently a product we are working on. That is one of the activities we have been doing. So I want to take you briefly through what we've been doing. Number one, we had a grand launch of the eHub, and what you see there is one of the photos from the launch. And the launch was a big event. It was a grand event that shook the whole institution, and it created an halo effect about e-cooking. And that grand launch alone was a big sensitization towards e-cooking because it drew attention, and people have been inquiring more about e-cooking and the benefits, and we've been helping to dispel the myths about e-cooking. The myths such as e-cooking is expensive. So we do demos to dispel such myths. So the other thing we have been doing is we have been using EPCs in the classroom demos. This one is done especially by our classes of hospitality department, especially food and beverage courses, as they teach the teaching techniques, be it sauteing, boiling, and so on and so forth. Instead of using the GCOs or other conventional fuels, they do their demos with the EPCs, and through that they open the eyes of the students, and they even explain the benefits of using e-gadgets in cooking. And we believe that as the students are sensitized, when they go home, they can be able to cascade that opportunity to their parents and the community around. And an institution like this is a place where students come in and go year in, year out. So we believe that through this, we are impacting a very big community. Another thing we have been doing is we identified champions from across all our departments. We identified trainer champions and student champions. The total of trainers champions are 22 currently, and students that were identified as champions from each department were totaling to 160. So all of them were well trained. They are versed with the knowledge of usage of the EPCs. They know the benefits. We were even able to approximate the cost saving from using the EPCs. And through that, we believe that they continue to train the all institutions and so on and so forth. And one thing that we want to appreciate with the community at RIAT, especially the staff, whenever we explain to them about the EPCs, there has been great interest. And I can confirm to you that a big number of our staff bought the EPCs for themselves. Actually, I did not hear anyone complaining that they were expensive. All of them were saying that they were cheap, especially after they were shown the cost savings that would come from the EPCs. So I want to take you on our thoughts on how the eHub can be more sustainable. So one of the things we suggest is incorporation of e-cooking concepts in the TVET curriculum. We believe that this is a great and noble idea, that the Ministry of Education should be approached with this idea, so that the same way we teach students about other ways of conserving the environment, other ways of keeping our health, because EPCs are also about health, and other ways of adopting sustainable forms of energy, it should be included in the curriculum. And we believe that this one will be the most sustainable way of doing sensitization to the whole country. So that is number one. Then number two, we are calling for funding of target-based outreaches and sensitization programs. Rather than just leaving it at the will of the centers to do sensitization, we are calling upon all the stakeholders to come together and set targets so that we can be able to measure ourselves against such targets in terms of numbers. We are talking about demand stimulation. By how much? We are talking about sensitization. What percentage of the community around us do you want this message to get to? So we are talking about having target-based outreaches and also funding for the same. Then the other thing to make it more sustainable is building of tangible and visible infrastructure for the e-hub centers. You know, an institution like RIAT, one of the ways they benefit from such movements and such ideas is when they have an infrastructure that they can point to. So I believe that when we have such, then such ideas will be more welcome in the institutions and they will be supported because it should be a win-win scenario. And then lastly, on our proposals, we are proposing for adoption of target-based outreaches or sensitization programs. We are particularly stressing on targets and even measurement against such targets. And then lastly, we are calling for funding and promotion for local or indigenous solutions on e-cooking. For example, the EPCs, you know, they are not produced locally, but I believe that we have the brains to be able to build a product of the sort. So even as a nation, as we are working towards being industrialized, I believe that we already have the capacity to build some solutions to our problems locally. And when we do that, it will be a win-win solution for all of us because we will have created jobs. And because it is a local solution, we believe that it will be adopted quickly. And that is why RIAT is also working on one of such local solutions for e-cooking. We're working on a gadget that will be produced locally. And we believe that it will be adopted easily by the community around us. So that is my presentation. That is what I wanted to share with you. I want to thank you very much for your time and your attention.
Thank you so much, George, for your presentation. And some few takeaway notes from your presentation is the fact that RIAT is a unique institution. It's a technological institution, an institution that is concerned about how technology is used to solve humanity problems. That is a very interesting fact about the institution. Secondly, the fact that this e-cooking is helping to dispel the myths revolving around cooking with electricity as being expensive, and that has been seen in all the hubs that have been represented in this meeting today, and that is a key issue that has to be addressed if e-cooking is to be addressed, embraced on a wide scale. And I can attest to the fact that you said that the people from RIAT, even your colleagues, did not find the appliance EPC to be expensive. I remember while we are launching the hub at RIAT, some of the colleagues and participants asked about the price of EPCs, and I told them it might be expensive compared to other appliances. And they asked how much. I told them 7,000. I told them 7,300, and they were like, is it 73,000? I was like 7,300. They said, that is not a very big amount for us, that we can easily afford. And you have also shared the same sentiment. So I believe, considering the benefits that you get from EPCs, you can't really compare with the price of buying one, as you have stated, and also the need for us as Kenyans, as locals, to develop a prototype of our own that can accommodate the big families in Africa and also for our institutions. That is also a very important fact that we need to consider. That said, we have 4 hubs. We launched, ACTS and its partners launched 4 hubs within Kenya. One in Kitui, one in Makueni, and one in Riyadh, as the presenters has just presented, and one here in Skod, Nakuru County. But due to unforeseen reasons or circumstances beyond their control, they could not join us this day. And for that, I want to welcome John to carry on with the session of the Q&A to address the questions that may have been addressed during the session. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily. Yeah, fantastic session, and really enjoyed hearing about each of these e-cooking hubs and I guess the insights that each of the hub hosts has seen in their local area about the role that electric cooking can play in providing access to clean cooking in their county. Just to add a little bit more about the Nakuru e-cooking hub, it's a shame that the SCODE team weren't able to join us today, because they've been real pioneers, especially in the area of solar electric cooking. So they were carrying out one of the first solar electric cooking pilots globally back in 2019, trialing with 50 households electric pressure cookers that were powered by batteries and solar panels, and are now still in the process of carrying out a follow-on field trial that's using both batteries powered by solar and batteries powered by the grid to ensure that electric cooking is accessible to all, whether or not they have a reliable grid connection. So it would be great to hear from the SCODE team directly, but unfortunately they're not able to join us today. But it is really important to emphasize their role as champions in the electric cooking landscape in Kenya. So in terms of questions, I see we've got quite a few coming in via the chat. So I wanted to start with one that relates very closely to the last presentation that we saw here from George from Riyadh. You had mentioned that you are working on a gadget that will be produced locally. So I think local manufacture is something that we really see as a really important way of not only adapting solutions to local cuisine and local preferences, but in shifting the value chain into the location where we want to have impact. So I would like to ask George, could you tell us a bit more about the gadget that you are working on that will be produced locally? What kind of cooking device is this, and what stage of development are you at?
Yes, thank you very much, sir. This is George. So there is this device that is usually called the fireless cooker basket. It is basically a basket with an insulation, and then you usually preheat some food. Then you put inside it, you cover, and the cover has got insulation. And then with the trapped heat, it cooks over time. So what you're thinking about is we want to improve the product. So one of the things that we are working on it, we want to include a method of heating within the system such that you don't have to preheat before you put there. So we are working on a way of including an induction heater somewhere that will do the heating inside. And then, of course, we will put some thermostat there to prevent overheating. And then that heating is important because one of the reasons why the product is now working, it cooks very slowly by now, is because the temperature decreases over time. So when we have that, it can be boosting the temperature when it has gone below a certain minimum. We also want to improve the insulation material such that the product will become less bulky. There are less bulky methods of insulation. So that is the product that we are working on. So we are currently at the design stage.
Fantastic. Thanks, George. And yeah, insulation is a really great way of producing a very cost-effective appliance that can quite simply increase the efficiency of cooking by simply decreasing the amount of heat that leaves the pot. So we do have a number of other groups around the world, including a group in Cal Poly in the US, and a group called Caccioni, based in Malawi, who are developing highly efficient insulated electric cooking devices, often aimed at the off-grid market, where every watt hour of energy is even more important than in the grid-connected market. So, George, if you're not already aware of these organizations, I'd be very happy to connect you to them and to the research that they've produced. In addition, we also have another session coming up next month. Ooh. Sorry, I think the power just went out here, ironically. I assume you can still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Yeah, so just mentioning that the next community of practice dialogue is on solar electric cooking, where we will have several colleagues who've been developing innovative solar electric cooking products. Several of them are insulated solar electric cooking products, and talking through their innovation on both the technical and the business model side. So moving on to the next question, then Florence from Kitui had brought up a very important point, which was, I think, Benson, you had gone into detail about how much gas you saved every week, reducing from 135 kg to 60 kg, and charcoal now being completely unnecessary. But the follow-on question to that is, how much has your electricity bill increased by, and how does that compare to the monetary savings that you are making on both gas and charcoal? So that's a question to Benson from the Wate Technical Training Institute.
Okay. The only comparative that I've been able to do in the institution is the use of the electricity for either baking or roasting. So we have not done a comparative of the energy that you have reduced in terms of the electricity, but bearing in mind that gas has been very expensive. And one cylinder of 45 kgs goes at 13,000. And I've been able to reduce from 3 cylinders to 1 cylinder per week. To me, is a game changer. And I believe, and we've been using of charcoal per week. And these 2 charcoals per week, now we are no longer using them because of the heavy boiling that we used to do. So with this, then I'd be able to say that the next research that I'm supposed to be doing is now to have a meter range in our workshop too, so that we can be able to see what is the initial use of the electricity, either within a day or within a week. Then from there, now the following week, now we can be able now to purely use the EPCs and see how much are we saving or how much electricity are we using. But according to me, it's very, very, very cheap. Why am I saying this? I want to use an example in my household. In my house, I'm using the EPCs. And before I started using the EPCs, I was using a 13 kg gas per month. Electricity was paying a bill of 1,500 per month. But if I do that comparative, I can be able to say that now I'm using the same cylinder of 13 kg for 3 months. Electricity bill has gone down from 1,500 to 1,000 because I used to use the electric kettle, I used to use the oven for cooking and all that. So I can be able to say that even if in the college you have not tried it, down at home, I can be able to say what are the benefits of using the e-cooking, or what is the benefit of embracing e-cooking at home. Thank you.
Thank you, Benson. And does anyone else have any other stories of the relative costs that they would like to share? So savings in cooking fuel versus the increases in electricity bill. So let me open it up to the floor. Is there anyone else who has any experiences on that front that they would like to share with the group?
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Dorothy.
Yes, I have appreciated the electric pressure cooker very, very much, especially when I am deep frying things like omena, which is a tradition. It's a traditional local food for the community here. It consumes very, very little cooking oil, and it cooks very, very fast. So I think the savings for frying omena is something that can be escalated, especially in the market, where we have women who are deep frying omena for commercial purposes. So I think going forward, it is very, very important to start thinking of how can we have electric pressure cookers that can be able to cook volume so that it could attract many people, and it would save so much of the trees which these women are using for deep frying omena, because I have not tried with the tilapia, but I'm sure very soon I will be doing that to try it. And many women in the market here are deep frying omena and tilapia. So EPC is already proving to be very, very cost effective in terms of the consumption of the cooking oil that is used. So that will be very, very interesting to any business person. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, thanks, Dorothy. And you've also reminded me of another story that Emily has captured from one of the participants in one of the cooking trials that was happening in Nakuru at the SCODE e-cooking hub. And this was about the savings that one of the participants was making each time she cooked ugali. So previously, with the amount of flour that she would use to cook ugali twice, it's now enough to cook ugali 3 times because of the non-stick pot. It enables you to eat all of the food that is cooked rather than just the stuff that you're able to get off the pot, which also makes the washing up easier. You don't have to soak the pot for several hours in order to clean it. You simply tip it upside down, and because of the non-stick, all of the ugali falls out, and it's only the muiko that you have to clean at the end. So moving on to the next question, Irene, you had asked about the wiring in the homes in Kitui. So this is, I guess, a question for Florence. Irene has asked about how is the state of the household wiring in Kitui? Have you had to work with some of the households participating in the studies that you've done to upgrade the wiring so that people can plug in their electric cooking appliance safely, or have you been able to find households where the wiring is already up to standard? So this is a question for Florence from Caritas Kitui.
Yes, I replied to the question, and lucky for us, because we also sampled the households. Not every household was targeted for the EPC. And actually all the connections worked as they were. We didn't have to do adjustments, but to avoid the risk of backfire and then people say we were almost banned, we had to journey with an electrician to make sure that everything is installed well and the systems were working. So we didn't have to adjust. And most of the times, the EPCs are not in the kitchen. Most of our connections are not in the kitchen, they're in the main house, and they are properly done. And with the pressure cooker, it is clean. Everybody is easy to use. You find they have set a system and it is working well with them.
Thanks, Ron. So when you say that EPCs are not generally used in the kitchen, I assume this is an outdoor kitchen, and that people, when they start using the EPC, then they're able to switch at least some of their cooking from the outdoor kitchen into the main house. Is that correct?
I mean, most connections and sockets are in the main house. Most kitchens are not connected to the power, and if they are connected, it is only lighting. There's no socket. So, and mostly the connections in the main house are well done. So we did not have to
do any upgrades. Because what we need basically is electricity, and even using the pressure cooker, you don't need a lot of space to do the cooking.
Absolutely, yeah. I think in some ways, then you can see having an electric cooking device is constraining where you can cook, because you need a plug socket to be able to plug it into. But also you can see that it gives you more freedom. For example, if you want to put some food on to cook whilst you're watching TV, then you can easily put the electric pressure cooker in the living room. There's no smoke and very little odor that comes out of the device whilst it's cooking. So in many ways, it does give you more freedom to cook in a more comfortable environment. So we have a question here from Kelvin. Would you like to unmute? Sorry?
Yeah, to quickly add on that, we had an extension, because we knew most households could just have the main socket. So with the EPCs, we had also a component of an extension, so that you can have varied pockets for the TV, for charging your phone, and then for the EPC. So the EPC, we had it with an extension as part of the package.
Yeah, I think that's really important, both thinking about not just the appliance itself, but also the connectivity that you have in your household. And if you can improve both of those at the same time, for example, by upgrading wiring where it needs to be, or by offering people more sockets so they can plug more things in at once, then you're also improving the other energy services that are offered by electricity at the same time as improving the cooking situation. Kelvin, would you like to jump in with your question or comment?
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to add on what Florence said, and she has mentioned what I wanted to add on about the provision of an extension. So in most cases in the rural areas, you'll find that the households that are connected to the grid might have a few ports for the socket wall ports. So in the event, if someone has a television already, then it means he has to switch from television to the EPC or such. So those households are providing them with the extension cables, like President said. Yeah, but generally it's good to mention that the wiring issues and problems are more so in the households that are far from the town, the rural areas. The households that are yes connected to the grid, but in far rural areas, as opposed to those in the major towns. So in Kitui town, we don't have issues of wiring or a need to upgrade and such, but there is such a great need in the rural areas. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, thank you, Kelvin. And could I ask the same question to Benson from Makueni and George from Kisumu? Is the picture similar in your counties, or is there a difference in terms of the quality of wiring in your households?
Oh, in Makueni, we are using the training workshops. So they have already been fitted well with electricity and all that, because they are already at training workshops for hospitality courses. So we are not having much challenge, though the areas that we did door-to-door demonstration, the people who had already purchased the EPCs, there was that challenge of just one socket on the wall, but the undevice of using an extension, which becomes very anti. And also you find that the traditional kitchens within our locality, you'll find that most of them are mud and all that. So you find that the cooking using the EPCs becomes more easier from the living rooms, unlike the kitchens. That's my take.
Thanks, Benson. George?
Yes, this is George from Kisumu. I can say that from our region, we have the urban centers and then the rural centers. So the EPCs, most of them, like the one we have here, only uses 1,000 watts. So 1,000 watts is a device that can be plugged into almost any socket. It doesn't need the special high-powered socket for the traditional electric cooker. So what I can see and what we advise is that those who buy them can use them from wherever they choose. Those who choose to use them in the kitchen, they can do so. Those who wish to use them in the living room, they can as well do that. But I can say that the situation could be the same as to what I've had in Makueni. You find that the kind of wiring system that is done in rural areas is substandard. And in most rural areas, because traditionally they cook with fossil fuels, they usually cook in a separate room outside, a room specific, the kitchen is constructed outside. So that small kitchen room, it is only powered for lighting, not for the socket or cooking. So for the rural houses with such a similar circumstance, they will also have to revert to the main house for cooking. But that is a situation that only applies for the remote and rural areas where the wiring was not done up to standards.
Thank you, George. So I'm conscious of time here. I think we're in the last few minutes of the session here. So I just wanted to make a few concluding remarks about the presentations that we've seen today. I wanted to say a big thank you to ACTS for all of the hard work that you've put in establishing these county e-cooking hubs and bringing electric cooking to the local level. To all of the presenters that we've seen here today, to George, to Benson, to Florence, and to the SCO team who would have loved to have been here, I'm sure. To all your hard work in establishing a local connection into the national e-cooking sector, and to the partners who came out to the hub launches, Kenya Power and CCAK, for your role in catalyzing e-cooking at the local level. So just some final comments from some of the presentations here today. I wanted to emphasize, Florence was the first to say it, but it was integrated throughout many of the later presentations. Seeing really is believing. So the role of live cooking demos is so important. And in fact, it goes beyond seeing. It's also smelling and tasting for yourself. So bringing this new technologies to the people and showing how you can cook popular local foods in a more convenient and more affordable way is really important to rolling this out to the masses. And then I wanted to mention the mobile demo kitchen, which is currently under development by Kenya Power, who have the demonstration center in Nairobi and are establishing regional demonstration centers, but are about to start work on a mobile demonstration kitchen, which can come and carry out these demonstrations across the country. And then I also wanted to mention Benson and George, actually, both of you are running large institutes, which are cooking serious volumes of food. So I wanted to mention the trials that are going on at the moment. In fact, the reason why my colleague Beryl is not with us today is because she's up in Turkana County at the Calabar Integrated Settlement near the Kakuma refugee camp, where SMV and Renuvia have been piloting large-scale electric pressure cookers, and we're in the process of procuring similar large-scale devices for the Kenya Power demonstration centers in Nairobi. These are electric pressure cookers which are between 20 and 60 liters in capacity. So instead of being like this, they're more like this, and can really cook the volumes of food which are needed at large institutions like training colleges, schools, hospitals, etc. And then also, George, you had mentioned locally produced appliances, which of course is so important to bringing this transition to Kenya. And I wanted to mention in particular Burn Manufacturing, who are setting up production of electric pressure cookers in their modern cook stove facility here in Nairobi. And also Strathmore University, who are also developing a prototype for an off-grid electric cooking device, which can be manufactured in Kenya and can enable street vendors to deep fry things like mandazis or samosas, for example. So this has been a really fantastic session. I wanted to pass back to the ACTS team to officially close for today, but big thank you from me and the rest of the GAMOS East Africa and MEX teams for all of your hard work in putting together the hubs and this session today. So back to you, Emily.
Thank you so much, John, for carrying out the session of Q&A. And before we conclude, I can see our MEX Kenya project leader, Dr. Johannes, is here with us. So I'd like to give him this opportunity just to share some few remarks after which he can hand over to Simon, Bachelor of Gamos, before we close the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily, and thanks everybody. I really don't have much to add to the very exciting discussion that we've had. I was actually here to listen rather than to intervene because there's a lot to be learned, and maybe just one point to emphasize, which is very important, is that one of the fundamental components or values of e-cooking is inclusivity. And that element of inclusivity means that we are supposed to reach out to different groups of people with the e-cooking gospel. And this is basically the function and the fundamental thought process behind the e-cooking hubs, that we are able to spread the gospel to the grassroots. Because if we don't do that, then what we will be doing is basically to reinforce the historical inequalities with regards to access to clean energy. If e-cooking becomes a market, a kind of a market-centric, elitist, urbanized kind of intervention, and we reinforce that narrative, it is okay. We can get the market, we can get all the profits, all good, but we shall not have resolved the major problem, which is the biggest problem in Africa with regards to access to clean and affordable energy for all, and in line with the Sustainable Development Goal number 7. So these particular hubs are opportunities through which we can reach the grassroots. We can reach the Mama Mboga down there, who is actually also, struggling to be able to make a living, and e-cooking can complement that particular process. So this is very fundamental, a very defining moment. And from where we sit, we see an opportunity that through these hubs, we really can be able to devolve as much as possible the e-cooking agenda. And in doing so, we become as inclusive as possible. For me, that is the paradigm shift, nothing else, that we are able to bring the majority of people who are suffering from traditional dirty energy, the many deaths that are caused by dirty energy and clean cooking ways, that we are able to save these people. For me, that is the fundamental paradigm shift in this particular process. So anyway, with those few remarks, I want to say thank you to everyone. And also, just to mention that we will continue with these dialogues, ensure that really we are able to continue communicating, we are able to continue linking, and we are able to continue speaking and talking to each other, so that we create this movement that is going to change the agenda around clean cooking, not only in Kenya, but also in Africa, but above all, globally. Simon.
Thank you, Giannis. Well, I like you, I actually signed in just to listen, not to say anything. And often when we listen, we're doing something else. I admit it. And so I was writing to a global group that are really championing e-cooking globally for all low and middle income countries. And the paragraph I was writing while you were talking about your gains was how Kenya is leading this way. All of you are piloting and exploring energy efficient e-cooking appliances, and we're all learning things. I love the comment. I'm sorry, I'm not sure who made it. The gentleman who actually found that his electricity bill went down because he had been using a kettle and something else, and with the EPC he actually used less electricity. These are great stories, but also great evidence, and those evidences are influencing the world. We all have this massive challenge of climate change, and a lot of Kenya's electricity is renewable energy. Yeah, it's the way forward. It's the future. Thank you very much for letting me say a few words. It was a great session. Really enjoyed listening.
Thank you to all the participants and to all the presenters for taking your time, sparing some of your time to join this interactive session. From my end, I just want to thank you all and see you in the next COP meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you and bye.